So Keith Brown over at Rag and Bone Brown has challenged people to make a bowl without a lathe. So in this video I'm going to show you how I made this bowl from Poplar and Meranti without using a lathe.
So then I started off by cutting the two pieces of Poplar down to a rough size. As this is a circular bowl, you can obviously not cut it down to a circular shape. And then I cut the Meranti down just so it's a equalish sort of size. I cut the rough edge off of the pieces of Poplar. I could have done this at the end, but I decided to do it now because it's out of the way. So I moved the table saw fence over, and then I cut the Poplar down the length so that I'd have two smaller offcuts. So after that I have my two larger bits, my two smaller bits, and this offcut of hardwood. The idea is to place the two bigger bits on top of each other and then sandwich a smaller bit in between the two smaller offcuts. It is slightly lower here. I could add another piece of this in and then cut it off on a table saw, which I think I might do. Or I could cut it down to that height. I just have to make a few measurements before I'm certain of what I'm going to do. So next it was time to glue everything up, and here in the UK at the minute we're having an incredibly hot time of things. So this glue is going to set off really quick out in the sun. So time was of the essence here, trying to get trying to get everything done quick. And then here's the piece of Meranti that I did cut off on the table saw. It's slightly taller, protruded up above the rest of the Poplar, but I wasn't too bothered at this point. So here's everything now glued up. It's time to clamp it all into place. This was quite an operation to get everything clamped right, because not only did I want to make sure everything was clamped flat with a downwards pressure, I need to make sure everything was clamped flat with a side to side pressure as well, and nothing was lifting up. So then I drew around a old paint tin just to get the outside shape of the bowl, and then I drew another circle inside just by eye. It's probably around about 12mm in from the outside line, and this would be the line that I use a straight cut router bit to cut up to. I did start off with the router with the dust extraction system or Hoover connected to it. However, it proved quite difficult for me to see where I was going, so I ended up taking the extraction off and then just having to use the vacuum each time that the bowl got too full up with shavings. So here you can see I'm following the secondary line that I drew on the inside. And with this straight cut I could get quite up close to it. And then basically it was just cut a bit, move the router down 10mm, cut some more out, move the router down 10mm, cut some more out, until I got to the point where I was happy with. I then used a smaller straight cut bit just to tidy up the edges and to tidy up the bottom. As you can see, I had to clear up some of the chippings. Now I've got the chamfered edge die bit fitted. I don't know what the actual name is, but the idea of this is to cut to the outside ring that I'd previously drawn around the paint tin. As you can see, I was a little bit further away in some places, and here is the first picture of where it was. So then I've done it again, and then this is the second picture. As you can see, you're a lot closer now. So then I shaved down the front side of it because it was slightly protruding a little bit too much and it hadn't glued completely flat. So I did this in 2 passes.
It was actually at this point that I was so enthralled in what I was doing I hadn't realised the camera battery had actually run out. So after I shaved off the excess wood so that the bowl was level, I then went over to the mitre gauge, and basically, if you imagine this is the rectangular bit with the bowl here, I cut off these corners and then put that onto the mitre gauge, and then cut off this corner and then this corner and this corner and this corner. So basically I was left with something like a 20-sided shape that then, as you can see now, I took over to the belt sander and finished off on there.
So as that handsome guy just told you, I then used the belt sander to try and get the bowl as round as possible. Thinking back, I should have drew another circle around the outside of the woods to mark where I wanted to sand back to, but obviously I didn't. So then I just rounded over the bottom of it as well. And then I used my multi-tool just to finish it up inside. There was a few little rough bits inside and a few bits where it wasn't quite round. So I used this 80 grit sandpaper bit in the multi-tool just to finish it off. And then I used this little stone grinder on the side just to help get the chamfer nice and flat and level. And then it was on to hand sanding, which seemed to take forever, but this is the thing with hand sanding: if you spend the time, put the effort into doing it, you do get the results at the end. So the whole thing had a real thorough sanding. So next, after blowing the dust off, was to put some mineral oil on. I ended up putting 2 coats of this on. So here is the first coat. Obviously I give it 15-20 minutes to dry and then rubbed it off, and then gave it another coat about half hour after that, once it had all soaked in a bit more, and this really did help the grain pop out more. I was really happy with the finished look of the bowl. Obviously there is a few things that I could have done better, but look wise with the wood I was quite happy with. Fortunately, when I took these pictures, it was just starting to get to the evening time, and they don't do the bowl quite enough justice just by how much the 2 colours together work.
So as you've seen before, here is the finished product. I'm reasonably happy with it. There's a few things that I've learnt making this bowl that I would improve for next time, definitely. But this is why we do these things, to try and learn and improve and get better ourselves as woodworkers. There is a slight flat spot on here somewhere, and when I was cutting the corners off on the mitre gauge, I cut a little bit close to the side, so it's a little bit thin in one piece, and then I don't know if you can see, but you have the 2 marks in the bottom where the router bottomed out. I could have routed a bit lower, but I didn't want to go too thin on the bottom. It's probably about a third of the thickness that the wood started off at. So I'm going to leave it like that, and this is an ideal bowl to store my car keys in, or various keys, just on the side table. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, by all means give it a thumbs down, won't be offended. Please leave comments, like to interact with people, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.